This is Antoine with ApartmentAquariumAntics, and today we're going to go over a little bit about a pretty common shell dweller for Lake Tanganyika, Neolamprologus multifasciatus. So if you're just starting off in the hobby and you want to keep some shell dwellers, this is the one to keep. It's hardy, easy to manage, and prolific in its breeding. You can start off with a couple. You don't have to have a large tank. Start off anywhere from a 5-10 gallon, a couple of fish, but before you know it, you'll need something a little bigger because there will be a lot of babies in there. Depending on how many shells you want to put in there, that will determine kind of how big of a space you want. So right here, I have a 20-gallon long. I've had this colony for close to a year now. When I got this colony, I had about 10 to 12 fish, and right now I'm sitting on currently about 30 of all various sizes. A couple of generations already have spawned in this tank. I've sold some at my local fish club, given some away to some friends. So I've decreased the population a little bit, but like I said, they're prolific and they're quick in replicating. So with that said, some things that you need to know when keeping them. First off, you want to have shells. If you don't have any shells, probably not going to spawn. I've heard of them spawning like in between rocks and things like that, but I know for myself, I've seen, or not necessarily seen, but I've had a lot of success with a lot of shells. And you can get shells online fairly cheaply from Amazon, escargot shells. I also, when I got this colony, was blessed to have received a bunch of other types of shells. So I have some huge conch shells in there, other shells like that too, as well in there. In those, they like those as well. And also with my tanks, my shell dwellers especially, I like to let a little bit of algae build up, just because it's more natural. It replicates Lake Tanganyika a little bit better. You know, sometimes when we're in our tanks all the time trying to keep them squeaky clean, we actually disturb the fish more than we help them. You know, so if you're having these tanks for show, I understand completely. But if you want them to do what is most natural to them, you kind of want to leave your tank alone. Now, I'm not saying don't do your water changes and things like that, but I'm just saying appearance-wise, if there's some algae in there, man, just let it be. And you'll see your fish will reproduce better when they're in a more comfortable, natural environment. The pH, I keep all the pH on my tanks roughly around 8. The water where I'm at in Northern California is Sacramento, Antelope to be exact, it's constantly changing. They're constantly dumping stuff in the water. So I keep crushed coral, a bag of crushed coral in all of my tanks. I add it to the substrate. I put it in the hang mountain bag filters. That way the water is consistently high in pH. They do better. But most of these fish are tank raised. So if you get your fish used to your local water, they'll be fine. Unless you have some wild caught fish, you'll be fine. Diet. So these fish I feed, actually all my fish, I feed them a wide variety of things so that they don't get accustomed to one thing and only want to eat one thing. So I feed them flake, crushed pellets. These are smaller, so I'll buy bigger pellets because I have bigger fish, and I'll just crush them. That way I'm not spending money on micro pellets, medium pellets. But pellets, flakes, frozen food, brine shrimp, mysis shrimp. There's a marine blend that's high in like vegetable matter that I feed to all my fish as well. I try to make sure that they all get a balance of protein and vegetables. But specifically for these guys, brine shrimp will kick that breeding up. If you want to breed them as well, bloodworms, things like that. And also to get a good water change in, 50-60% water change, you'll kick them into some breeding. So let's take a closer look at my colony. So this is my multi-colony right here. Like I said, there is algae. It's not a spot-free, squeaky clean tank. There's that long view. I like to let them kind of just thrive and do their own thing. You know, with the multis, they like to scape their own tanks. So if you're looking to have that perfectly aquascape tank, man, you are in for something else because they do their own thing. They clean their room how they like to clean their room. So I have a bunch of different size fish. Excuse the glass. I could have cleaned the glass before I filmed this, but this is real life fish keeping. You know what I'm saying? So I have adults. I have juveniles. I have extremely small juveniles. They're hard to see. But yeah, I have fish of all ages and sizes in here. I've given away some breeding pairs that I've had previously, just because I like to spread the love in the hobby. So that's my multi-colony. Like I said, what do I have in the tank wise? Heater, gotta have that. Hang on back filter. Intake sponge for that extra beneficial bacteria, but for me it looks like algae. Pot those, suck up those nitrates, build up some algae. Sponge filter, gotta have the sponge filter. Debating on going sponge filters in all the tanks though. Getting rid of the hang-on backs just to reduce the strain on my electrical bill. But yep, these are my multis right here. Very common shell dweller, very easy to breed, awesome to look at, beautiful little fish, vibrant blue eyes. Now, depending on what substrate you keep them, the darkness of the shells, things of that matter, will help determine the color, because I've seen they can be kind of ferocious towards each other, and once they stake claim on some territory. But back to the color, I've seen them darken up, like the ones that like to spawn in those darker shells are darker. So like you can see this guy right here, he's the alpha male of the tank. He's been beaten up, but he's came out victorious. He's got scars, like he's a mean dude. Got ripped fins, all that, but he's been in battles. I had another male in here that I sold. They used to go at it. They would rip each other's faces up. They were not playing. So he's the alpha male. He's been through hell and high water. He's a veteran, and he looks like it. Those are all scars on the front of his face. But he's serious about his ladies. He's serious about his kids and his home, and I respect that. But yeah, change the color of the substrate will lighten your fish up. Add darker shells in there will darken your fish up. If you add black sand, they would all be black. They'd all have a pretty dark coloration. They'd look a little bit more like Similis, which I have a tank of. But we'll go over that in another video. So yeah, these are my multis. You know, there's about 25 shells under there as well that you can't really see because they have escaped the tank how they want to escape the tank. So a lot of the shells are actually buried. So those are my multis. Probably soon relocating them to another home just because I've had them for a while. I've bred them, kind of done what I've liked to do. They were my first shell dweller. They got me into pretty much being able to breed and spawn fish, so I'm grateful for them. But I have a gentleman from our fish group that's probably going to be coming to pick these here up, and I will be relocating my Cichlids into here because I have gotten 4 of those recently. And hold on one second, we'll take a quick look at them. We won't go too in depth though. So underneath my 55-gallon, I have a 10-gallon temporary Cichlids set up. Let's take a look. They are in there. I have 4 of them. Hoping to have a breeding pair, prayerfully. But they're going to be moved into the 20-gallon long. This is just a 10-gallon. You know, just a temporary home, but try to get it as comfortable as possible. I do believe I have a male and 3 females, but they are going to be going into there. So, you know, this is the 20-gallon long rack, mainly shell dwellers. This is actually not a shell dweller tank. As you can see, let's see. You don't have to look very hard. There are tons of plecos, pleco fry in here. Albino bristlenose. Forgive me. spacing out right now, calico bristlenose. So there's a plethora of different color morphs in here, all bristlenose. But I also have, if you look very closely, a bunch of Callichromis macrophyri that I'm growing out in here as well. So this used to be where I kept my Telechromis vittatus, but I had to move them away into a bigger tank. So I wanted to give them some more room to spawn. They're a little more aggressive with each other. But nevertheless, this video is about the multis. Don't want to steal their shine. So that's them right there in all their beauty. Excellent fish to start off with. If you're looking to get into shell dwellers, I would highly recommend checking out the Multifasciatus. You won't be disappointed.